What if the food you trust most, such as the ketchup on your table, the bread in your pantry, even the snacks your kids beg for, was slowly poisoning you? Shocking new data from 2025 reveals that chronic disease rates in the US have spiked by nearly 15% in just the past year, with researchers pointing to harmful additives and chemicals banned in Europe, Canada, and Japan, but still sitting on American shelves. Why are these products allowed here when other countries refuse to sell them? And more importantly, how many of these dangerous foods are hiding in your kitchen right now? Beyond just bad eating habits, it's about corporate greed slipping toxic ingredients into products families eat every day. Children are the most at risk, with studies from the early 2025 linking certain processed foods to rising cases of early-onset diabetes and heart problems in teens. Are we feeding our loved ones convenience or slow destruction? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Today we expose the 10 Dangerous Foods RFK Jr. just banned and why your next grocery trip might deserve a second thought. Number 1. Tomato ketchup. You know what's funny? We've been treating that bright red bottle like a friendly neighbor who always shows up at dinner time, no questions asked. Fries, burgers, hot dogs, just a squeeze, and everything tastes better. But here's the punchline. That so-called friendly neighbor is more like the smooth-talking salesman who sells you a used car with the engine barely holding together. RFK Jr. didn't just toss ketchup onto his banned list for kicks. He called it out because what's hiding in that bottle isn't a simple tomato treat. It's a slow-burning problem sitting right in front of us, and most folks don't even notice until their health takes the hit. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If something this common made the list, what does that say about the rest of our kitchen? Let's peel the layers back, and boy, it's not pretty. That sweet taste? It's riding on heaps of high-fructose corn syrup, cheap sugar that food companies love because it keeps you coming back for more. Some brands pack as much sugar in a couple of spoonfuls as a can of soda, and we're handing it over to our kids like it's harmless. That's not just sweetness, that's diabetes knocking at the door. And the salt? Hidden in there like a sneaky house guest, raising blood pressure before you even realize it. For anyone already struggling with hypertension, every dip is like tightening a rope around the heart a little more. And don't get me started on the stomach acid. Those tangy tomatoes mixed with preservatives can crank up acid reflux faster than a cheap gas station chili dog. The preservatives are the real wolf in sheep's clothing. They keep ketchup sitting on shelves for months, but inside your body, they're stirring up gut problems, messing with metabolism, and sometimes triggering allergic reactions that seem to just happen out of nowhere. And the worst part? Big food companies know exactly what they're doing. They've traded real, fresh ingredients for chemicals and cheap sugar because it's profitable. It's almost laughable, if it weren't your health on the line. Now you might be thinking, what on earth do I use instead? That's the silver lining here. Real tomatoes, a touch of vinegar, maybe a homemade sauce with spices you trust. It takes a few minutes more, but at least you know you're not swallowing a chemistry set every time you grab a fry. And as RFK Jr. warned, this is just the first item on a much longer list. If ketchup, the so-called harmless table buddy, is this bad, imagine what the rest of that list might do. Number 2. Hot dogs. You can almost smell the grill just hearing the name. Hot dogs, the so-called easy pleasure of summer cookouts, ball games, and quick weeknight dinners. Toss one in a bun, splash on some mustard, maybe a little relish, and boom, instant comfort food. Cheap, fast, and convenient, they've been sold to us as the all-American crowd pleaser. But let's stop pretending for a second. That smiling bun isn't holding a harmless snack. It's hiding something far more unsettling, and once you know what's really inside, you might think twice before taking another bite. Would you still call it food if you knew it was linked to cancer, heart failure, and even razor blades found inside some batches? Here's the ugly truth. Hot dogs are processed meat, and experts have placed them in the same cancer risk category as smoking, Group 1 carcinogens. Eating just one hot dog a day pushes your risk of colorectal cancer up by 18%. And children? Studies show kids who regularly eat hot dogs have higher chances of brain tumors and leukemia. Imagine handing your grandkids something that carries that kind of risk. Suddenly, it doesn't feel like such a harmless treat. And cancer isn't the only monster in this story. Those innocent-looking links are packed with sodium and saturated fat, the deadly duo that clogs arteries, shoots up blood pressure, and chips away at your heart health with every bite. People who eat processed meats regularly are more likely to face heart failure and a shorter life. Then there's diabetes. Nitrates in hot dogs damage the very cells that help your body control blood sugar, pushing you closer to type 2 diabetes without you even realizing it. And if you're thinking, well, at least they're clean, think again. Hot dogs have been yanked off shelves for contamination, metal shards, plastic bits, even bacteria like listeria that can send you to the hospital. There are even reports of razor blades, hair, and buttons turning up inside some batches. That's not dinner. That's a bad lottery ticket you never meant to buy. What makes it worse is what comes with them. Processed buns full of refined flour, sugary ketchup, greasy sides, and soda. It's like setting your health on fire and pouring gasoline on it with every extra bite. But here's a thought. Swap that hot dog for grilled chicken or even a veggie sausage made with real ingredients, and you'd still get that summer cookout feeling without handing your body a ticking time bomb. If something this beloved and normal can be so dangerous, what about the rest of the food sitting quietly in your kitchen? Maybe it's time to ask some tough questions before your next meal. Number 3. Store-bought bread. Nothing feels more ordinary than a loaf of bread sitting on the kitchen counter. It's the quiet workhorse of every breakfast. Toast with butter, sandwiches for lunch, maybe a quick grilled cheese for dinner. Soft, golden, and reliable, it feels like the safest thing you could possibly eat. But here's the kicker. That simple loaf is more of a chemical sponge than a wholesome staple. And once you learn what's really packed inside, you might never look at it the same way again. Honestly, if you saw a list of what's in some store-bought breads, you'd wonder if you accidentally picked up something from a hardware store instead of a grocery aisle. Take potassium bromate for starters. It's a chemical that helps dough rise beautifully and gives bread that perfect, fluffy texture. Sounds nice until you learn that studies have linked it to cancer. Other countries have banned it entirely, but here, it's still sitting in many loaves as if no one noticed. Then there's calcium propionate, a preservative that keeps mold away, but research has tied it to hyperactivity and behavioral issues in kids. And if you think that's bad, wait for this. Some bread makers still use azotocarbonamide, yes, the same compound used in yoga mats and flip-flops. Imagine that. The same stuff you step on could also be sitting between your sandwich slices. And don't get me started on the sugar. Sure, bread needs a little for yeast to rise, but many brands crank it up with high fructose corn syrup, genetically modified sugars, and even sucralose, an artificial sweetener better suited for diet soda than a morning bagel. Light breads are no better. They often sneak in even more sugar to make up for the flavor they stripped away. That perfect golden brown color on some loaves? It can come from ammonia-based processes. Yes, the same ammonia you'd find in harsh cleaning products, and a known carcinogen. Suddenly, that shiny crust doesn't seem so warm and inviting, does it? And it doesn't stop there. Artificial colors and flavors, often made from petroleum, yes, the same stuff used in gasoline, are slipped in to make the bread look and taste fresher than it really is. These additives have been linked to asthma, allergies, and hyperactivity in children, yet they're quietly sitting in what most of us call everyday food. The good news? Real bread isn't complicated. A handful of ingredients, flour, water, yeast, salt, can make a loaf that actually goes stale in a day or two because it's supposed to. Or better yet, buy from a local bakery where you can see the ingredients written plainly, not hidden behind long chemical names you can't pronounce. Because if something as basic as bread is stuffed with this much junk, what does that tell you about everything else sitting quietly in your pantry? Number 4, potato chips. There's something about that first loud crunch of a potato chip that feels almost comforting, like an old friend who always shows up during movie nights or lazy Sunday afternoons. The salty, crispy bite is so satisfying that most people never stop to ask what's hiding under that golden glow. But maybe it's time we do, because once you peel back that shiny bag, you're not just looking at potatoes and oil. You're staring at a chemical cocktail no one would ever sprinkle on their food at home. If a simple snack can carry this much baggage, what else are we blindly eating? Start with acrylamide. Sounds like something from a construction site, doesn't it? That's because it's a chemical that forms when starchy foods like potatoes are fried at high temperatures. Studies link it to cancer in animals, and guess what? Potato chips have some of the highest levels found in any snack. You wouldn't knowingly pour something tied to cancer, risk over your dinner. But somehow it's fine when it's sealed in a shiny bag with a smiling logo. Strange how marketing can make poison look tasty. Then there's sodium bisulfite, used to keep chips looking fresh and picture perfect. Sounds harmless enough until you realize it's also used in certain toilet cleaners. And here's the kicker. When sodium bisulfite meets vitamin B12, it can trigger toxic reactions. Some potatoes naturally contain vitamin B12, meaning that innocent handful of chips could be causing more chemical trouble inside your body than you'd ever imagine. Still feel like licking the crumbs off your fingers now? And let's not forget the extras. The artificial flavors and colors designed to make each bite taste addictively good and look just right. Many of these additives are made from petroleum, the same stuff in gasoline, and have been linked to inflammation, gut problems, and even long-term risks to the heart. No one thinks about that while shoving handful after handful into their mouth, but your body keeps score even if your taste buds don't. The irony? Real potatoes don't need any of this. A simple batch of homemade chips, thin slices baked or lightly fried in clean oil, can give you the same satisfying crunch without shoving your health under the bus. And if a snack as basic as potato chips is quietly carrying this chemical mess, what about everything else you casually toss in your shopping cart? Maybe it's time to start asking those questions before another bag ends up on the couch next to you. Number 5. Soda. Crack open a cold can, hear that cheerful fizz, and for a second it feels like pure happiness in liquid form. Sweet, bubbly, and easy to gulp down, soda has been sold as the ultimate little pleasure, something you deserve after a long day. But let's drop the smiley commercials and be honest for a moment. What's inside the can is closer to a sugar trap than a harmless refreshment. If you really think about what it's doing to your body, you might never look at that shiny can the same way again. First, the obvious, sugar, and lots of it. One can carry anywhere from 7 to 10 teaspoons of sugar, far more than your body can comfortably handle at once. That's like dumping half a bag of sugar into a glass of water and pretending it's refreshing. The result? Your blood sugar spikes like a roller coaster, and over time, those spikes push you toward weight gain, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. Studies confirm that people who drink soda regularly are far more likely to develop diabetes compared to those who stay away from it. And it doesn't just stop at diabetes. High sugar intake is a direct invitation for your arteries to clog and your heart to struggle with every beat. And here's the sneaky part. Soda doesn't even make you feel full. You can drink a whole can, swallow down over 100 empty calories, and still be hungry, which usually means you'll eat more than you need. Worse yet, soda tricks your brain into craving even more sweets, creating a cycle that keeps you reaching for another can, or worse, for more junk food, without even realizing it. Your teeth? Well, soda is like handing acid a free pass to eat away at them. The sugar mixes with bacteria in your mouth, turning into acid that strips away enamel layer by layer. Think about how soda can clean the rust off a penny. Now imagine what it's doing to the surface of your teeth. The more you drink, the more you're inviting cavities, decay, and painful dentist visits that drain both your wallet and your nerves. Here's the thing. Water, sparkling water with a splash of real fruit or even unsweetened iced tea can give you that refreshing feel without loading your body with sugar and acid. But if a drink as simple as soda can quietly do this much damage, you have to wonder, what about the foods you haven't even questioned yet? The ones you still think are safe? The answers might not just surprise you, they might make you rethink every aisle you walk down at the grocery store. Number 6. Burgers. Few things feel as American as a burger. Grilled at a backyard barbecue, grabbed from a fast food drive-thru, or served up hot at a diner with a side of fries. Juicy, flavorful, and filling, it's the kind of food that makes you nod with satisfaction after the first bite. But maybe it's time to ask the question nobody wants to ask. What exactly is hiding between those buns? Because once you break down what's really in that all-American classic, it starts to look a lot less like a meal and more like a ticking time bomb for your health. Let's start with the fat, the kind you don't want. Burgers are loaded with saturated fat, the type that clogs arteries and pushes your cholesterol to dangerous levels. Too much of it, and your heart has to work harder with every beat, inching you closer to heart disease. And the sodium? Fast food burgers are notorious salt traps. Each bite delivers enough sodium to send your blood pressure climbing, a silent but deadly threat to anyone already battling hypertension. But it's not just fat and salt that make burgers risky. Many fast food patties aren't just beef. They're processed with preservatives, artificial flavors, and in some cases ammonia-treated beef, better known as pink slime. Let that sink in for a second. The same ammonia used in cleaning products is allowed in some burger meat to kill bacteria. Sure, it makes it safer to store, but what does it do to the body eating it week after week? Then there's the portion problem. A homemade burger can be simple. Fresh beef, a slice of tomato, maybe a bit of lettuce. But fast food and restaurant burgers are supersized monsters, stacked with cheese, bacon, and heavy sauces that push the calorie count into the stratosphere. Add fries and a soda, and you're looking at a single meal that could easily top an entire day's worth of calories. And how many of us are burning all that off after dinner? The good news is you don't have to swear off burgers forever. Make them yourself with lean, grass-fed beef or even turkey. Pile on fresh vegetables and skip the heavy sauces. You'll still get that satisfying bite without gambling with your heart or loading your body with chemicals. Because if something as beloved and familiar as a burger can quietly pack this much damage, what does that say about the other foods we've been trusting without question? Maybe it's time to look at every plate with a little more suspicion before the next bite. Number 7. Instant noodles. There's a certain comfort in ripping open that bright little package, dropping the hard noodle block into boiling water, and knowing dinner will be ready in just a few minutes. Instant noodles feel like a blessing when you're tired, broke, or just craving something quick and salty. But let's be honest, what feels like a cheap, harmless convenience is closer to a health gamble, and every slurp might be doing more damage than you think. If you knew exactly what's hiding in that broth and those curly noodles, would you still be so quick to pour in the seasoning packet? Start with the sodium, it's outrageous. One serving can carry around 1,500 milligrams of salt, nearly 3/4 of what you should have for the entire day. And let's face it, almost nobody stops at half a pack. You eat the whole thing. That's a full day's worth of salt in one bowl, pushing your body to hold. Onto water, making you feel bloated, raising your blood pressure, and forcing your heart to work harder than it should. Over time, a diet this salty is a straight road to heart disease, strokes, and kidney problems you won't see coming until it's too late. Then there's the infamous seasoning packet. Sure, it smells amazing, but it's a chemical party you didn't sign up for. Artificial flavor enhancers like MSG are common, and while some folks shrug it off, others experience headaches, dizziness, and nausea after eating it. You wouldn't sprinkle chemicals on your home-cooked soup, but here you are dumping a whole packet into your dinner without thinking twice. And the noodles themselves? They're not just dried, they're usually deep-fried before packaging to keep them shelf-stable for months. That means they're loaded with trans fats, the kind that clogs arteries, drives up bad cholesterol, and makes heart disease and obesity far more likely over time. Every bite is like adding another brick to a wall your heart has to fight to push blood through. But here's the kicker. Instant noodles are designed to be addictive. The salt, the fat, the artificial flavors, they're engineered to keep you coming back for more. It's cheap, yes, but what you're saving in money, you might be paying for in doctor's visits later. If you can't imagine giving up noodles completely, you don't have to. Use fresh noodles, a low-sodium broth, and throw in real vegetables or lean protein. You'll still get that cozy, slurp-worthy comfort without stuffing your body with salt, chemicals, and artery-clogging fats. Because if something as ordinary as instant noodles can quietly carry this much risk, maybe it's time to take a harder look at every easy meal waiting in your pantry. Number 8. Chewing gum. Popping a stick of gum into your mouth feels like the simplest thing in the world. Fresh breath, something to do while you wait in line, maybe even a little stress relief. But have you ever stopped mid-chew and wondered, what exactly am I chewing on? Because once you dig into what's actually inside that soft, stretchy base, gum stops feeling like an innocent habit and starts looking like something you might not want anywhere near your mouth. Let's start with something most people have no clue about. Lanolin. Sounds harmless until you realize it's a waxy substance taken from sheep's wool. The same stuff that keeps rain rolling right off a sheep's back. Great for them, sure, but do you really want wool grease hiding in your gum? Manufacturers don't even have to list it separately because it's considered part of the gum base. Unless you're reading every tiny word on the label, and even then, good luck spotting it. You'd never know. Imagine chewing for hours on something that started its life on a sheep's back. That's not exactly what you picture when you unwrap a minty stick, is it? And that's just the beginning. If you're into sugary gum, your teeth are paying the price. Sugar clings to enamel, feeding bacteria that thrive in your mouth, slowly drilling their way into cavities and gum disease. Skip brushing afterward, and you're letting that sticky mess sit there, quietly eating away at your smile. Even if you stick to sugar-free, you're not off the hook. Many gums use artificial sweeteners like mannitol and sorbitol, two innocent-sounding ingredients that can upset your gut fast, leading to bloating, cramps, or even diarrhea if you chew too much. And all that chewing? It's not as harmless as you think. Constantly working your jaw, especially on one side, can throw your muscles out of balance, leading to headaches, earaches, and even TMJ, those painful jaw joint problems that can make chewing feel like grinding rocks. But here's the real jaw dropper. If you have silver fillings, chewing gum might actually release mercury into your body. High levels of mercury are linked to memory problems, nerve damage, and other serious health issues. Think about that for a second. Fresh breath at the cost of slowly leaking metal into your system. So should you quit gum forever? Not necessarily, but choosing wisely matters. Sugar-free gum made with xylitol is a better option. It doesn't feed bacteria the same way sugar does, and it's easier on your teeth. Still, moderation is key. Maybe it's time to ask yourself if every chew is worth the hidden risks. Because if even gum, something you barely think about, carries dangers like this, what else in your daily routine might deserve a second look? Number 9. Shredded cheese. That bag of shredded cheese you toss into your cart feels like the ultimate shortcut. Ready to sprinkle, melts on everything, and saves you from hauling out a grater. Convenient, yes, but have you ever stopped to think about what's actually inside those neat little strands? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Some of it might come from a tree, not a cow. Take cellulose, for example. It's the secret ingredient that keeps those cheese shreds from clumping into a sticky ball. Sounds harmless enough until you realize where it often comes from. Wood pulp. Yes, you read that right. Bits of treated tree fiber are mixed in with your cheese to keep it looking picture perfect. Food authorities say it's safe in small amounts, allowing up to 4% in shredded cheese. But let's be honest, did you really buy cheese expecting to eat part of a tree? And it's not just about what's safe, it's about what's real. Cheese packed with too much cellulose doesn't melt the way cheese should. Instead of turning rich and creamy, it can come out dry, rubbery, almost fake. Because in a way, it is. Real cheese isn't supposed to stretch like a cheap rubber band when it melts. Then there's the ugly side of the industry. Remember Castle Cheese Inc? They got caught passing off pure Parmesan that was stuffed with extra cellulose and blended with cheaper cheeses like cheddar. They faced legal trouble for mislabeling, but the bigger issue is trust. If one company cut corners that way, how many others are quietly doing the same? So what's the solution? Skip the bag. Buy a block of real cheese, grate it yourself, and you'll get the creamy, flavorful melt cheese is meant to have. Yes, it takes a few more minutes, but at least you'll know you're eating cheese, not powdered tree mixed with who knows what. Because when you're paying for cheese, shouldn't you get cheese, not filler? Number 10. Donuts. The smell of fresh donuts drifting from a bakery can feel almost magnetic, pulling you in before you even realize you're walking toward the counter. Warm, soft, and coated in sugar or dripping with glaze, they seem like harmless little treats. Comfort food at its sweetest. But peel back that golden glow and what you're really holding is a deep-fried sugar bomb, the kind that quietly wreaks havoc on your body long after the last bite is gone. Start with the fat, because that's where the real trouble begins. Donuts are usually fried in oils that have been linked to trans fats, the notorious artery cloggers that push bad cholesterol sky high while dragging good cholesterol down. Even when a box claims trans fat free, don't let that fool you. Many are still packed with processed saturated fats, which aren't much better. These fats slip into your bloodstream, sticking to your arteries like grease in an old kitchen drain, making your heart work harder with every beat. Then there's the sugar, and it's no small dose. A single donut can carry 20 to 30 grams of sugar, which is like spooning 5 or 6 heaping teaspoons straight into your coffee, except you're eating it in one sitting. That much sugar hits your blood fast, sending it soaring before it crashes just as quickly. The result? A rush of energy followed by that drained, sluggish feeling that sneaks up a few hours later. Do that day after day, and it's not just tiredness you'll deal with. Regular sugar spikes are tied to weight gain, insulin resistance, and a higher risk of type 2 diabetes. And believe it or not, they can even mess with your mood, leaving you feeling anxious or low just hours after the so-called treat. And let's not forget, this is all before you add the frosting, the rainbow sprinkles, or the cream filling. By then, you're not just eating a donut. You're stacking sugar on sugar, fat on fat, like adding gasoline to a fire your body is already struggling to put out. The good news? You don't have to give up sweetness altogether. Try apple slices with a little almond butter and a sprinkle of cinnamon. It might not look as fun as a donut with pink frosting, but over time, your taste buds adjust, and the natural sweetness feels satisfying without dragging you through sugar highs and lows. Because if even donuts, those innocent-looking golden rings, can carry this much damage, maybe it's time to pause before reaching for the next harmless treat. Your body keeps track of every bite, whether you think about it or not. The next time you walk through a grocery aisle, pause for a second, look closer, ask yourself, is this really food or just chemicals shaped to look like it? Change doesn't happen overnight, but even small choices, fresh ingredients, homemade swaps, or simply saying no to what you now know, can change the way you feel, live, and age. Your health, your life, it's in your hands, not theirs. Stay sharp, stay curious, and never stop asking questions.
Thank you for watching today's video all the way through. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay updated with our latest daily videos. Now, feel free to check out other feature videos currently showing on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.